Hello, and thank you for joining the call. My name is Denise Godowski, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Applied Equipment. All participants will remain on mute throughout the call to avoid hearing background noise. I encourage you to submit your questions, suggestions through the Q&A panel at any point during today's presentation. We will have a separate Q&A session following the actual presentation. Also, a recording of today's session will be made available to you within a few days of the live streaming. We will also share the presentation slides in a follow-up email. We're very excited to present this to you today, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. And now I'd like to introduce today's presenters. Go to the next slide. Daniela Belmanis, the Director of Applied Digital and Service Enablement. Caitlin Logan, Strategy Manager, Applied Digital and Service Enablement. And John Williams, Director of Global Cybersecurity Solutions. And without further ado, Daniela, I'd like to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. We're excited to share some exciting features of this York Chiller Access Manager concept on York Chillers. Today, we're going to go over an overview of what that is. We're going to talk about our ISO Secure cybersecurity certification related to this new feature and why that's awesome and cool for our customers. We're going to talk about control panel access levels. We'll cover how to find the York Chiller Access Manager website and mobile app. And then we're going to go into some demos from the equipment owner point of view and the experience for the equipment owner to make sure all of our York Chiller equipment owners know how to get their accounts set up and complete their registration, how they can use the mobile app, and some cool features of the web platform that are provided to them through York Chiller Access Manager. We'll wrap up from there, and then we will make sure that we have plenty of time for Q&A. So like Denise said, feel free to send any questions you've got throughout into that question section on the webinar. All right, so York Chiller Access Manager is a relatively new feature of our York Chiller product that really allows our equipment owners to have more control over their chillers because they're going to be able to manage who has access to their chiller equipment now. It allows us to also record who has logged into chillers, and that gives our equipment owners the ability to trace different interactions, see who logged in, and maybe make changes. And all that provides some added protection, right? So it's really, the intent is to secure this really valuable equipment that's usually part of very mission critical operation, right? And, you know, in the past, we had static passcodes to get into our chiller control panels, and that's really not very secure. If you think about it, your phone or your computer probably has a much more sophisticated password requirement than our chillers did in the past. And so this is really about coming up to present expectation of what kind of passwords should be on important and expensive pieces of equipment. And so with York Chiller Access Manager, it's really the new way forward to provide dynamic access codes that are also unique to a user. And so that way we can really make sure that chillers are protected. And along with this comes a cybersecure certification through a third-party ISO Secure, which we'll hear more about in a couple of slides here. So how does it work, right? It's really meant to be super simple. When you're trying to log into your chiller, really all you have to do is open up the app, the York Chiller Access Manager app. You can scan a QR code that'll now be on your control panel screen. That QR code simply represents the serial number of your chiller. You could also just straight away type in the serial number if you'd like, without scanning that QR code. All your data and the chiller data gets sent up to the cloud, right, up to the database, and confirms your credentials and sends you back an access code and lets you get into the panel. So it's all really quick. This is meant to be like a minute process here, right? It's very similar to like two-factor authentication, if you're familiar with that and have it set up for any of your online banking, right? This code will come back very quickly to you and you can log in. A couple other points I do want to make here is that chillers do not need to be connected in order for your Chiller Access Manager to work. So we have great connected chiller service offerings. If your chiller is connected, that's wonderful. This has nothing to do with that though. Your chiller does not need to be connected for this to work. The other thing I do want to mention is we know a lot of mechanical rooms are in the belly of buildings, right? They might be deep underground or behind thick walls, and you don't always have great cell service. So you do not need to be able to take your cell phone into the mechanical room in order to generate a code. You can generate codes in advance, and you can manage those codes in the app. Again, all you need is the serial number, so you don't need to be standing right next to the chiller with the app in order to generate the code. So we'll talk a little bit more about how to use the app and that kind of stuff later on here. And I mentioned that this is a relatively new feature. It's been shipping on all new YK, YZ, YMC squared centrifugal chillers with OptiView panels since late 2021. It is our new standard going forward. So this is not an optional software in order to really reach that high level of cybersecurity, right? This cannot be something that's optional. This kind of has to be like our standard as we move forward. And so you'll see there in that bottom box, the software versions. If you have software V10 on a YK and later, V10 on a YZ and later, or V09 and V12 on YMC squared mod A and B, and later, that is when these chillers started shipping with your Chiller Access Manager. But just because you didn't buy a brand new chiller does not mean you cannot get your Chiller Access Manager. If you have an existing chiller, you can upgrade your control panel software today and enable this great feature. So for YKs, if they're 2016-ish and newer, depending on the board that you have in your control panel, you can retrofit your chiller with this new software. For YZs and YMC squared, there's no limit on the age. So if you've got one of those installed and you want this new feature, you can upgrade your software on any of those as well. So if you're curious, the normal channels you go through to upgrade your control panel software is what you would use to upgrade to this. And we also published a service information letter a while back that we'll share a link to in case anybody wants more details. And I'll hand it off to John to talk about that cybersecurity a little bit more.
Thank you, Caitlin, and certainly this is cool and exciting from my perspective to have these certifications for these chillers now from ISA Secure. And so what do we have for certifications? So these certifications are for the chiller panel themselves. We got the first one November of last year for the YZ and YK centrifugal chillers. And this was a component security assurance from ISA Secure. And this guarantees that we're in conformance with the ISA IEC 62443 standard, both the 4-1, which is the secure development lifecycle, and the 4-2, which is the component security assurance. That was achieved for those chillers in November last year, and then we just recently got for the YMC squared centrifugal chillers the same certification on August 23rd of this year. And to have these, we were the first smart building provider to deliver this certification for chillers. So this is a very big accomplishment. Certainly the new the new Access Manager helps get this, but there's a lot more that goes around it. So, what is the ISA, SDLA, and CSA certifications? The software development lifecycle assurance is a requirement to get the component. And that's showing our customers that we are following good lifecycle practices from the design phase through the development, through our testing, and then the ongoing support we give these chillers from a cybersecurity perspective is all in alignment with that 4-1 version of the 62443 standard. And then likewise, the CSA, the component security assurance, are looking at particular technical safeguards that are in the product. And there are a lot of these to conform to be in conformance with the 4-2 version of that. So you've got all this packaged up to get those certifications. So what does this mean? It establishes a recognized baseline, and this is more than just one or two features that go on a data sheet for say. This is a robust baseline that's going to be recognized internationally, and it answers hundreds of questions for an IT security group of a customer. And they got the assurance that this has been certified by a third party that's accredited certification body. It's independent from Johnson Controls. So it gives them that peace of mind there. So obviously we've, there's a lot of details here. You can always find more on our johnsoncontrols.com/cyber-solutions for more information. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. We'll jump ahead here, and we'll just take a minute to talk through different access levels within the control panel. So with your Chiller Access Manager in place, equipment owners do not need to pay anything extra for third level access, right? I think we see this as like if you bought a car and then you were asked to pay for the keys to the car, that would be ridiculous, right? We're not doing that, right? Access just requires creating an account and making sure you complete your registration, and then you can use the web platform and the app to generate your codes. So that's all that's different here. It's not that we're asking anybody to pay any more to get into their panel and do what they need to do. And so if we just look at the table here on the screen, the view level does not require an access code. That's very similar to how it operated in the past. It's open to all users, and you can start and stop the machine for safety reasons, but you can't make changes to set points and things like that. Logging in at the standard level, which is where I think most equipment owners or facility managers, or sometimes like our installing contractors who purchase equipment before they hand it over to the the building owner, this is the level where you would want to log in for most of your normal day-to-day operation. Then we have a new level that is what we call the enhanced level. This level does require a subscription. This is the level where most non-JCI service contractors, or maybe some of our most sophisticated and self-maintaining equipment owners, we would see them logging in at. And this is really for that regular maintenance that's required on our chillers, and of course, like regular service events. There is a JCI service level in the panel, and that is reserved just for Johnson Controls service technicians, and in some parts of the world, we have service partners that work on behalf of us. This is similar to Enhanced, where it's for regular maintenance and service events, but of course, it also has features related to commissioning, right? Because for most parts of the world, Johnson Controls handles the PCAT. We do the startup for you. That is part of the deal when you're buying a York centrifugal chiller. But it is also going to contain some advanced diagnostics, some really cool features that we're working to develop and that we're trying to put out there for our service techs to be even better at what they do every day when they're servicing York equipment. So if you need any help setting up an enhanced level subscription, you can fill out a form at that site that's on the screen there. And we're going to share links to all of this after the webinar. But I think if you ever need anything, actually, you can go to york.com/chilleraccess/support and send us a note, and we can get back to you. So if we move on to the next slide, we'll just quickly go over how you can find York Chiller Access Manager. So you will notice if you have the latest software on your chiller, you will see a new login screen on your OptiView panel, and it'll have some of this information as well. But to get to the web version for full functionality, you can just go to yorkchilleraccessmanager.com. And from there, you can log in and you can see the chillers that are associated to you as an equipment owner. And if you want the app, you can get it from the Apple app or Google Play stores. you just simply have to search for York Chiller Access Manager, and it's the only one that's going to pop up. But if you're curious, there's a couple of screenshots there of what you can expect it to look like in either of those app stores. And then if you're in China, there is a special link that we do have available on our website that we will, again, share, but that'll get you to the app for Android devices in China. So now that you know how to find York Chiller Access Manager, you know what it is, we're going to go through, Caitlin's going to walk us through some of the experience that an equipment owner could expect.
Great. Thank you, Daniela. So as Daniela just mentioned, it's important that for York Chiller Access Manager to work, it's all about being able to track who's logging into the panel. So it's important that you as a building owner are able to get registered and set up. And so we have a couple of steps that you can go through if you have a need to get set up. At any point in this process, if you get stuck, you're more than welcome to reach out to your Johnson Controls contact, and they can help make sure that this happens smoothly for you. But what you're going to do is you can, if you've downloaded the app, as Daniela just mentioned, or if you go to yorkchilleraccessmanager.com, you will be brought to a login screen. If you type in your business email and click next or log in, from there you will see a couple of screens. One, if you're already set up, you'll just log yourself in and you're going to be on your way. But if you're new, if you're just trying to get set up with York Chiller Access Manager, you'll most likely see this screen that we show you here on the left with some text that says, if you are an equipment owner, please complete the registration form here. A Johnson Controls representative will contact you to complete the registration process. So at that point, we would encourage you to click on that link, and it's going to take you to a form, which I will show you on the next slide. If you are not an equipment owner, if you happen to be a service contractor, you would actually be able to proceed here by providing some information to continue your registration process. It looks just a little bit different, but you would just follow the instructions on the screen. If someone else in your organization has already registered for York Chiller Access Manager, you will actually see the screenshot that is there on the right. Since they have already gotten your company as a whole set up, you now have the opportunity to self-register by filling out some additional information about yourself, your name, job title, phone number, etc. So that is sort of the option if someone else ahead of you has already helped complete this first registration. But if not, you will click that link and you will end up at this form. You can also go directly to this form if you know that company is not set up, york.com/chilleraccess/register. So this is also how you can get an equipment building owner set up. You're going to fill out this form. We're just looking for some basic information about yourself, the company, and the chiller specifically that you're looking to have set up with York Chiller Access Manager. Once that form has been submitted, our JCI support team, which we have a support team in each region that is handling all of these requests and lots of other tasks related to York Chiller Access Manager, they will receive that information and they will reach out to you. That way they can help make sure you're able to finish setting up your account. So they will take this information, they will enter it into our system, and they'll reach out to you to confirm that everything is being set up accordingly. Once they have done that, or if you've been able to self-register because you're not the first user with your company, you will receive an email. And this is a really important step. We need you to confirm that you receive that email. It's going to come from Okta. You can see up in the top of the screen there. It's not going to say Johnson Controls. Okta is our authenticator provider. But when you open that email, it's clearly branded Johnson Controls, and it's important that you click that activate your account button. The link expires in 7 days. So check your junk email if you don't see it right away, but you'll need to click that in order to complete the setup of your account so that you're all ready to go from there. If you don't see this email or you're having trouble, once again, that JCI support team is there to help you and make sure you're able to get fully set up. At that point, you're ready to log in. You can pull up your app and re-enter your email and nav password, or through YorkChillerAccessManager.com. So I'm going to walk you through quickly some of the quick uses of the mobile app. The mobile app is meant to be very simple as a quick way for you to generate access codes and keep track of codes that have been created. When you create an access code at that standard level of access that Daniela mentioned, it is good for 2 weeks. So you don't have to generate a new code every time you walk up to the chiller. You're able to use that app or the web platform to recall those codes as well. So we're going to show you all of that through this short video. So we mentioned that there's that QR code scanner you can use to scan, or you can type in the serial number. From there, it's just going to show you chiller details and allow you to select generate access code. It's going to provide a code that you can then type into the OptiView panel. So as we said, it really should be that easy and straightforward once you've logged in. If you have an active code, when you log in, you're actually going to see all your chillers there, and you can retrieve a code present, or you can generate a new one if needed. If you have a lot of chillers on site and this list gets really long, you're able to filter or sort or even search your chillers based on various criteria to just see chillers at a single site or otherwise. You're actually able to also to swipe right to like remove a chiller if for some reason you don't want to view it in the app any longer. So that's all the app is for, right? The app is to generate access codes or recall them most simply. But in our web platform, that YorkChillerAccessManager.com, this is where the rest of the features and the value associated with York Chiller Access Manager resides. So when you log in here, you're always going to pick your region that you're logging into. And then once you're there, you'll see any equipment that you own listed on the main screen. To manage users, you select Manage Employees, and then you can click the Add Employee button. You can have users self-register, or you can add them in this way. Once you complete this, it will send an email to them. Admins have extra control on the account. If you designate them with that star icon, they can help you manage users as well. If you don't want anyone who has a York Chiller Access Manager account to be able to access your chiller, you can edit that for contractors or other employees that work for you. To add contractors, if you want to make this a selected chiller, you would go through that process. It was shown a little bit quickly there. And then it's really easy to see who's trying to get into the equipment, right? From the access code screen, you can see who is generating access codes. And from the York Chiller control panel, you're actually able to find the access log, and the user IDs will match. So you can then see who logged in on your chiller by matching that information up. These videos and instructions are available at our york.com/chilleraccess website for more information. But really, the web platform enables you to, one, view all chillers that belong to you, that are assigned to you through that setup process that the JCI support team assists with. You are able from there to see all of your registered users associated with your customer account. You can add additional users. You can also remove them if needed simply by clicking on that user. And then if for any reason you feel that you don't want to allow certain people to access that chiller, you can limit access by clicking on the chiller page and going from all to selected, and then adding those selected employees or contractors as needed. That access codes tab, in conjunction with the access log on the OptiView panel, also allows you to see not only who generated the access code, but who actually used an access code to log into your equipment and at what time. I will say our OptiView control panel also will log all invalid attempts, so you can see if there have been repeated unsuccessful attempts as well. So in summary, York Chiller Access Manager is giving you more control over your chiller. As we've been mentioning, it's really about this ability to control who has access to the equipment, record who is having interactions with the equipment, and thus protect the equipment and the entire building that is really relying on chillers in order to keep that building running and operating smoothly. We've gotten this solution validated with the ISO Secure Component Security Assurance Certification for Smart Buildings product, and worked in close conjunction with that third party to make sure we meet all of the requirements in this world where we are constantly wanting to make sure all of our products are cyber secure from any kind of attack. If you ever need help or have any questions, york.com/chilleraccess/support is a form that you can fill out, and we will be sure to have one of our experts reach out to you on this topic. At this time, I think we will open it up for Q&A. I think there have been some questions coming in, and we will try to answer as many as time permits.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Caitlin, for going through those demos. Hopefully now our equipment owners are feeling confident about how to get registered and get their account set up, and then some of the cool stuff they can do with the app and web platform. Some of the questions that we're seeing come in, one was around costs of the access levels. And so I did want to just touch on this quickly. I think, so again, for the standard level, there's no cost. You just need to get your account set up. You need to get yourself registered. Once the first person at a site, at a company is there, then additional people can either be added by that person or they can self-register. So it's really once that first person gets in and gets a registration set up and gets associated as an equipment owner to that chiller, then others can join. So, and you have that free standard level of access. So if you're ever having any issues getting to that level, getting your registration complete, again, the website of york.com/chilleraccess/support. If you just drop a note there, we can figure out how to help. For the enhanced level, I did mention that there is a subscription required. In some regions, there is a fee associated with that subscription, but that varies from region to region. So we highly recommend that you reach out through that contact form to get specifics in your region about what the fees are associated with that subscription. So there was another question kind of related to the enhanced access level. So I think I saw it was about, whether or not there were enough features in that level for contractors to do some of the service things they expect to be able to do. In the very initial release of York Chiller Access Manager, we did kind of recognize that there was maybe not enough in that enhanced level. And in the upcoming software versions that are going to be released for YMC Squared, YK, and YZ, we are pushing more features for access into that enhanced level. So we definitely want to make sure that people using that enhanced level have everything they need, that they're fully able to maintain and service equipment. And in the JCI only service level, that's really about, the commissioning related stuff and, some of the fancy new diagnostic features that we're developing for ourselves there. So those were some of the questions that I saw coming in that I wanted to address. Let me just take a look here and see if any additional ones have come in.
Yeah, Daniela, there's a couple of questions regarding the app and the registration process. For Stephanie, the registration is per company, but you can add additional users for that same company. So the subscription is at the company level, and then if you have additional users, and I believe Caitlin went through that process on adding users, you're able to do so through the YCAM web portal. And then for Ryan asked a question about enhanced level. If you can log the chiller, I assume that means log in to the chiller through the application. Yes, for standard and enhanced, it's the same process. You have the chiller serial number, or on the app, you can use the QR code. From there, you'll have an option if you have both enhanced and standard to select one or the other and retrieve that or generate that access code. You're also able to do that through the website as well.
Yeah, and I think, you know, most of our information today has been targeted to the equipment owner point of view, but I do feel like a lot of questions are related to that enhanced level and maybe from a non-JCI service contractor point of view. There is other information at the site that you see on the screen there. There's a video specific to how a lot of the functionality works if you're a non-JCI service contractor. So if you are looking for additional details, I definitely encourage you to go check out that site or again, reach out through that support form for anything more specific too.
And I wanted to make a note. I see a note of, you know, do we need to add our JCI team who helps work on our chillers? And the answer is no. All of our JCI service techs are able to scan your QR code or search by serial number any chiller that has York Chiller Access Manager. So they're always able to find your chiller quickly and easily. There's no need to assign them to make sure that they have access for you.
I see a question about the best way for a contractor to manage multiple chillers with different owners. So there is, you know, no issue there. Any chiller that you've accessed as a contractor, you'll see that history there. You should be able to see who the different owners are. They won't be grouped separately, but you'll just kind of see everything on one screen. But you do have different filter functionality in the app for sure if you want to filter things out. But you know, any chillers you're working on across different owners, you'll see all of those when you log in.
I see the question came in of, can chiller faults be reset from the standard access level? The answer is the majority of the time, yes. Any faults that you're used to being able to clear, you will continue to be able to clear at that standard access level. I say most, there are one, two, or three that previously you could only clear with a much higher access code, and we've kept that logic. These are faults that if you would continue to run the chiller, you would likely destroy the compressor on the machine. So with the exception of, as I said, one or two, absolutely. You continue to be able to reset those faults either at the view or the standard level.
We've got a few more questions rolling in. Let's see. Okay, I think this is an important one. If there's maintenance that's required, is the chiller going to lock down and only be able to be accessed with someone at enhanced or JCI service level access? No, if maintenance is required, right? Today, chillers keep operating. They should not get shut down. You know, you're not going to be locked out because you need to do maintenance. You know, I'll be honest, the control panel's not smart enough to do that, right? We're not stopping the chiller from operating just because maintenance needs to occur. I think maintenance is good practice, right? But, you know, we definitely want to keep the chillers up and running and make sure that your Chiller Access Manager is not controlling whether or not the chiller is on or off. I see a few questions coming in that are maybe from some of our JCI internal folks. We'll make sure we kind of address those separately. One question that's another good one is if York Chiller Access Manager applies to just chillers, or can it be applied to other equipment as well, such as boilers, and other things in the building. Currently, this only applies to chillers, but it is a technology that we do intend to expand out to other chiller products, right? We have a really large chiller portfolio. We definitely want to add it to more and more chillers and give customers more control over all those types of chillers. And then, yes, ultimately we could, I think anything in the Johnson Controls like product portfolio with some kind of control panel. I don't think we sell boilers, that's maybe the one exception, but we would see if this could be added. It could take a while, like over the fullness of time maybe, but anything that we've got in the portfolio as Johnson Controls, we could eventually add York Chiller Access Manager to. Okay, we have some questions coming in about what if the app is down or what happens in an emergency situation. So first of all, I think one of the proactive things that anyone can do is get your account set up in advance, right? Like I think having your account set up and working before you need to log into a chiller panel is one way to avoid certain emergency situations, I think. And, sitting there in front of a chiller going, oh my gosh, I need York Chiller Access Manager and I never set that account up. And now I don't know how to like log into the app and generate a code for the chiller, right? So one way to help with that is set it up in advance, right? You can do it really at any time, even if you don't have a chiller to log into yet. If you're a non-JCI service contractor, you could create your account really at any time. If you are in an emergency situation and you do need support, I think, reaching out to the normal channels that would support you, probably reaching out through that form, the contact form we've been sharing over and over in this presentation, may not get you help fast enough over the weekend, for example. But if you reach out to your normal channels in the JCI local service branch, they can help escalate the need for support, and we can make sure that we can get everybody up and running as needed. And then another question just about the app itself being down. So the app itself does go out every once in a while. We're pushing updates constantly, so I think there is some planned downtime usually. We try to plan it at times of day when we know globally not many people are using the app to generate codes. So those haven't caused too much interruption. And they're usually pretty short windows when we push an update. So, we do have stuff on backup servers and at, different levels of, servers have different levels of like uptime, and we have a pretty high level of uptime required on our servers that are running these apps. So really it would be, if this app is going down, something bigger is going on in Johnson Controls, I would say, right? Which is a rarity. So we have pretty high expectations for the app being up on a regular basis.
And I want to just mention, you are able to, as we said, those codes last for 2 weeks at a time. You can generate codes also in advance. If you say, I know I'm going to need to do some maintenance on this chiller a week from now, you can generate a code to start a week from now and have it. So you don't have to worry about generating it that day. If that, I know some things like that, sometimes gives me anxiety of like, are all the things going to line up for me on a task I have to get done today? You can plan it out in advance. You can generate multiple access codes in advance for that chiller. If that gives some peace of mind, and if you're in an especially critical situation.
Okay, I think we have time maybe for one more question. I don't know, Caitlin or Brian, if you see one there that we can answer quickly with a couple minutes left here.
I think I continue to see several around subscriptions. And so the theme I think I'm seeing is whenever a subscription is requested, it is going to get applied at that company level. So we provide subscriptions to contractors. We make subscriptions for equipment owners as well, but it will then apply to that company, even if an individual requests it. And that's one of the reasons that JCI support team is involved. They're going to just help vet and make sure everything is laid out properly for that subscription to apply to the needs of that company. And as I said, we have admins on those accounts, so they'll certainly reach out to the account admin to make sure everything gets set up appropriately.
Yes, that's a great question to cover, Caitlin. Okay, well, I think that takes us to about a minute left for our time today. We planned 45 minutes and we're right on schedule. So I do want to thank everybody for being super engaged. We got a ton of questions. If there's anything we didn't get to, we may reach out separately and share some insight with you guys. Like I said, some of our JCI friends on the call will make sure to get you guys information as well. And we really appreciate it. I think this is an exciting new feature on our York chillers, and we really think it affords customers a better level of control and protection for such critical assets. So thank you guys for joining to come hear about how our equipment owners can get more control over their chillers. We appreciate it. And again, all this content is going to be shared in a follow-up email after this webinar today. So thank you so much for all of your time, and talk to you all later.